In the back of my mind, I always wanted to do a sword and sandal movie. Maybe because when I was a kid, I loved creating comic books. And I actually drew a comic book of Hercules versus Superman.
The mighty Hercules.
Will you go and tell my father Hercules is here?
When I was a kid, I had always admired individuals who were strong and who were able to accomplish things, I think, with their hands. And Hercules was certainly one of them. And from the very first Hercules, Steve Reeves was such a great inspiration.
Even though I was a big fan of Steve Reeves and Lou Ferrigno and their versions of Hercules, for this generation of young people, of young kids, there was not the definitive Hercules movie.
I'll help that, by the way, too. I'll open it up.
And then go in?
When I first broke into Hollywood, Hercules was one of the first properties that I asked about, that I was curious about, and I would love to make. So Hercules has been a passion project of mine for a very, very long time.
I need a raking shot on him. Does it show us what you do? I started kind of exploring and asking around, but all the scripts that were kind of coming across my desk were mostly fantasy. And I wanted to do kind of the antithesis of that, make a film that was kind of very realistic and kind of demystified the myth. And when MGM sent me the graphic novel Hercules, The Thracian Wars, my initial reaction was that finally someone had come up with a sword and sandal movie that was grounded in reality.
What appeals to me about Hercules was his ability to overcome challenges, having him test his mettle against the 12 labors, and then ultimately believing in faith, because I think there's something fundamentally powerful about having faith. And Hercules has that and finds that at the end. So it was always very appealing to me. Plus, I wanted to find myself in a loincloth. Anytime I could get in a loincloth, it's a good day for me.
Hercules.
The challenge was who was going to be that man, and it wasn't until the day that Dwayne Johnson came into this house, sat down on the couch, looked me in the eye, and said, I was born to play Hercules. Now, I believed him from the very minute.
I sat down with Brett Ratner, and it was just an instinctual thing. And it's one of those things that sometimes you just can't explain it, and I just felt it in my gut that he was the right guy. And I believed in Brett from the beginning.
This guy was as committed to building muscle mass and size, and it was thoughtful. It wasn't just bulking up.
But I was in a match. I was wrestling at WrestleMania, and I wound up tearing 2 tendons off my pelvis. I was like, because that's some good pain. And it's always fun when the doctor comes out of the MRI and he looks and he goes, I go, what do you think? And he goes, well, what I think is I don't know how you're walking. I said, I don't know how I'm walking either. It hurts. So we're at a crossroads now with this because there's been months of prep for Hercules, and the entire crew has been over in Budapest for months now. If I elected to have surgery and have the tendons reattached to my pelvis, then that would have been out a year. Then the movie would have been pushed, and in all likelihood, if the movie's gonna get pushed for a year, we're probably not gonna make it.
Oh man, I was nervous. He really hurt himself. And I said, how are we gonna do this movie? He goes, I'm here for you. I don't want you to worry about it. I'm gonna fix this.
So I elected not to have surgery and just rehab, and over time, hopefully the tendons would just kind of scar tissue up and I'll be fine and maybe not walk with a limp. But I wanted to keep the movie intact. That was important. But ultimately, the tendons being torn off my pelvis had weakened my abdominal wall. So 2 weeks before we were getting ready to go shoot, I have to have triple hernia surgery. And again, it's just fun pain. It's so fun, I love it. So I had that. So then we had to push the movie by a couple of more weeks. I'm so grateful for the team of people I had around me who galvanized and felt like, all right, you have no tendons on your pelvis. You just had triple hernia surgery. You're here in Budapest. We are all gathered around as one big team, and we're gonna make this happen.
He's so disciplined as a person, so focused on his training, that he rehabilitated himself probably 5 times faster than anybody else would have been able to. He was committed to this.
For the next 4 to 6 months, we made it happen. We shot an amazing movie, and I'm very, very proud of it. And little by little, I got better, and all in all, Hercules has a very strong pelvis.
Some call him a man. Some call him a god. I call him Hercules.
So there were a lot of challenges with Hercules. But why would you want it any other way? It's Hercules, so bring on the challenges.
It was a long time coming. I'm very, very proud of the work. I'm very excited now to share the movie with the world.
People need a hero.
Hercules! An honor to host such a legend.
What goddess?
But in legend, you fight alone.
In our version of Hercules in the mythology, Hercules has his group of mercenaries, who he's very close with.
Be in line. Can you pull back?
It's a group of, I feel, lonely people. And they've met each other and they found each other because of war.
This is a time in their lives when they have all been doing it for so long, they're a little battle weary.
I fear the task ahead might not be suitable for a woman.
She's the only woman in this very, very masculine world.
I love these guys. It's such a varied group of people. And we've just really got along really well.
Brett Ratner, he has cast this in a way that's not obviously Hollywoody. There are lots of really established and interesting, eclectic European actors. Obviously, I'm pleased about it because it meant there was more of a chance of me being in it.
You set? Okay, let's slowly dolly in, guys.
Settle, please.
Slowly keep going.
We never really saw them all together till we saw them all together on the first test. And you see them and you're like, oh my God. And that's when we got so excited about it because we saw them all together in full costume and full hair and makeup.
Great. Look towards the camera, DJ. Yeah.
However, their names were pretty complicated, so they were asking me, what's my name again? How do you say it? So we had to do phonetic versions of all the names for everybody.
Autolycus of Sparta, Tydeus of Thebes, Atalanta of Scythia, Iolaus of Athens, and Amphiaraus of Argos.
Amphiaraus.
We wanted to create a look for Hercules that audience has never seen before. And we have esteemed, award-winning, Oscar-winning hair, makeup, who help the transformation process every morning, 3.5 hours, aged up a little bit, longer hair, matted beard, unkempt, still handsome, huh? Scars everywhere. It was a tremendous transformational process to sit there for 3.5 hours, 4 hours sometimes, every single day for 95 days. We did that. Worth every second.
You need something to mirror the idea of a god. And Dwayne does that pretty good.
Move your hair a little bit to the side so I can see a little bit of that scar a little bit. Yeah.
The first time I met him, that was the camera test, and they told me to stand next to him. And then Brett said, okay, everyone turn towards each other. And I was thinking, Hula Maloney, now I will have a moment with Dwayne Johnson. And I looked up to him, and I was thinking, say something smart, say something smart. And I said, you are very tall and big, very smart. I felt so intelligent.
Autolycus, who is played by Rufus Sewell. He is a tremendous actor who has great weight to him, and he's got a great look. He's got eyes that I got lost in. I got lost in Rufus's eyes.
That's a pretty sight. I loved Autolycus because he was sarcastic.
If you're lucky, you'll go to Hades, where all the fun people are.
He had a great, slightly dark sense of humor, and he got some throwing knives. I always loved James Coburn in The Magnificent Seven. And, that to have throwing knives was pretty cool. That brings out the kid in me.
I play Amphiaraus. Well, there was a lot of talk about how to pronounce his name. It was Amphiaraus. Amphiaraus, everybody. Problems with Greek names, We eventually settled on Amphiaraus. He was not too savory character in his early life, but got the calling from Zeus, became a good man. I think he joined early Greek AA, as we call it. GA, Greeks Anonymous.
If you're going to use those herbs, Amphiaraus, at least share.
Ian brought such a great weight to his role and such a great voice to his role, too. He has a very distinct voice.
Tonight, a spear of flame will pierce my heart.
And he grabbed this role right by the throat.
My time.
Rhys Ritchie plays my nephew, the famed storyteller, Iolaus.
I tell of Hercules' 12 legs, like the Nemean lion, the apples of Hesperides, the belt of Hippolyta.
He is the ancient salesman, really. Quite a crass way to put it, but his function is to sell the sizzle, you know, not the sausage.
It's just the noise in the room. That's why
I like the level. I like the level.
just bring back the enthusiasm of it all.
The litmus test is my mom. So in terms of when she comes on set, she's like, who's your nephew? I say, there he is over there. And she's looking, she's like, oh, he could totally be related to you. Yeah, Mom, you think so? All right, well, you passed.
Atalanta was an Amazonian queen. I would call her more Hercules' protector.
It's stressful too, you know. The pressure is on and there's so many people and it's so huge.
Being the only woman in Hercules' group requires a certain type of actress. She could bring the ass kicking, and she has to look the part, and her body was ridiculous. In the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're on set, and she's doing push-ups, lateral raises to bring up her delts.
It's a mental challenge. Very strict diet, for example. That's new to me. I love food. Oh.
Axel Hennie is one of the great actors. I describe him as like the De Niro and the Pacino in one of Norway.
I love the fact that you have this character that has all these feelings and emotions and all this rage, and he's not able to express it verbally.
His axes do the talking for him, so he doesn't talk, but he's very valuable in the corner.
My makeup artist came up with the nose. I was so skeptical about it. I said, no, it's not gonna happen. Tried it on like a couple of times, and suddenly I forgot that it was there. And also with the wig, when I saw the wig the first time, it was like, it looked like a dead rat. I was like, is that going on my head? Nah, I don't think so. And it was on with the nose and everything, and boom, there he was. Suddenly you get the character, suddenly you see him.
The training for the film was months and months and months.
We were literally all thrown into a gym every day, and we did physical training together.
It was a constant fine-tuning of the diet and the training every day. Train twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day.
You might think it's kind of pointless because no matter how many press-ups you do, in the end, you end up standing next to Dwayne Johnson. It does diminish the sense of achievement slightly.
The most fun thing about doing an action film like this is the pre-production phase, when you practice on what you're gonna do in the film.
Each character has its own individual weapons or style, which I thought was quite cool. And then we try and adapt a style that matches them and matches the weapons and obviously matches the genre of the film. Then we take that and we show Brett to make sure that he's happy with that particular style.
We started out with more like martial art feel of it, and Brett didn't want that. He wanted more directness and realness of it. It's more of a bar fight.
I'm very lucky because Ingrid's very good. Ingrid was a natural. We try to do a minimum of an hour every day because the muscles that are used in archery you don't use for anything else. And you have to train them to retentive memory.
Much of it is muscle memory, so you have to just do it so many times so that your body does it automatically when the pressure is on and the camera is rolling.
Bring the chariot!
No, I ride horses. I love riding horses, but very different riding a chariot. We rehearsed on this track. My God, it was, my balls are going to be in my throat by the time I shook up and down on this chariot long enough.
Not bad, eh? Very good. Hey!
But anyway, we worked it out the other day. We've done a lot of chariot riding now. It's pretty good. Works out pretty well. That's fun.
They strapped me in the chariot so that I knew that I couldn't fall off. But still, the stunt coordinator said, we need to put you on a quick release because the chariot, it might tip. Okay, so where is the quick release? What should I pull in case it tips? Oh yeah, it's right there. You just yank it like this. Ah, okay. Shoot it then already. But I felt completely safe. But it's this thing again of making things look effortless. That's a bit of a skill.
You start to fall in love with these characters as a group. It's not just Hercules and his gang, it's the gang. So Hercules is part of this group. And it's reminiscent of the Magnificent Seven. It's reminiscent of the Wild Bunch. It's reminiscent of these great movies where you fall for these characters of tremendous depth, emotion, and individuality.
Such a wonderful cast to lean on is something that I've appreciated the most, I think, with this project.
I'm very much enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the dynamic because everyone gets on in a way that makes it more fun than it could be, you know.
It's been so wonderful to get to know them, and I think it's so much easier to create this story that we are this family. We only have each other. That's what Atalanta says. We don't have anyone else. We have each other. We are more than friends. We're family. And that's very easy when you have guys like that.
Each character in the film has their own skill set. They have their own identifiable characteristic as far as the weapons they used. Tim Wildgoose was the head of the armory department, did an amazing job at helping the cast with all these weapons, how all this stuff worked and functioned, and the functionality of it, and the detail of this was just mind-blowing.
Hercules' weapon is this massive club. And on the end of it are 4 long teeth from the Nemean lion.
It starts out with quite a plain olive club. There's no extra details on there. As he goes along and fights the lion and the boar and the hydra, he adds pieces to the club. So it eventually ends up looking like this with lion's teeth on there and the lion emblem which appears on all his stuff.
He also has another weapon of choice, and that's the Hercules Death Stare. Which I can't do, only Hercules can do it. And generally, it'll scare people away. So if he could get away with just giving the death stare, then he does. If not, then, well, you get the club. And then Christmas is canceled.
Autolycus is an expert with blades, such as knives.
Don't just stand there, kill someone!
I have knives here, and I might have other sharp implements hidden about my personage at any given time, which I could surprise my assailants with.
These are carried on his belt, which are basically bronze fighting knives. Inside his jacket, he carries a large selection of throwing knives, which he will whip out. We have various shapes of throwing knives there for him to play around with.
I've done the first one, we've done the second 2, and then it's me walking towards the camera. Boom, boom, boom.
Amphiaraus carries this, which is his staff. We have a version where the blades open out as a surprise. And he twists it, and a blade shoots out the bottom as well. We have metal versions for close-up to camera. We have rubber versions, and we have soft, bendy fighting versions for the stuntmen to be safe with.
Tydeus' weapon of choice is an axe.
He has his 2 axes, which he can use in a good way. He's crazy.
We came up with a way that they could be attached to his belt, so we could easily pull them off and go straight. Axel wears these almost constantly when he's on set. Even when he's not being used, he likes to have them on his belt anyway. And he refuses to use the rubber weapons, which is a bit of an issue for us. But wherever possible, we have to persuade him to carry the rubber ones. But he loves his metal axes.
I, however, just get this kind of toothpick. The great thing about this is it's the real deal. It's very heavy and it's cool. It's at my side at all times. Yeah, I love this thing. Although it's small, it can do great things.
He refuses to carry a rubber dagger as well. He always uses the real thing because he prefers the weight of it. This is our executioner's axe, which Iolaus uses to kill Sitalces at the end of the film. We have a bronze version of this, which again Reese wants to use because he wants to be able to use the real weight of it and drag it along the floor as if he's really struggling with it.
I really think I'm ready to fight now.
And Atalanta is our archery master.
Brett wanted to have blades on the end of a bow, so as well as firing arrows, you can do acrobatic fighting and a lot of swinging around and taking out people with the blades, as well as being able to fire arrows. This is the metal version. We have versions which have rubber blades on them as well. I mean, these barely come out of the bag, to be honest, because they're so dangerous on set. Whenever she's fighting, we use bendy, soft versions of the bow for rolling around on the floor and doing stunts with. Same with the quiver. We have a soft... This is the practical quiver, which you can draw arrows out of. We also have soft, squidgy foam quivers, which you can have on her back for rolling around on the floor. Coaties, played by John Hurt, a very nice, elegant dagger for him. Very elaborate, and again, we made that for real. It's all real, bronze. This is Joseph Fiennes' dagger, which he has in his belt, which is, well, ends up in his chest at the end of the movie. Again, we made a practical version, and we have visual effects cut-off versions. We have plant-on versions, which attach to the chest for when you get stabbed. Reese's cavalry, they carry these long swords, which were designed so they can ride with one hand and reach out and cut people's heads off. And it's basically to keep a distance between them and the person they're trying to kill.
For men of action, a movie like Hercules comes around once in a career. You know, these guys, this is where they really come in and you see their skill set. They're able to make sure that every actor, that they look great on screen, and they did that.
I think the Bessie battle is the one that I'm the most proud of. It's just a brutal, raw, kick-ass, rough combat. We built an actual village. John Vincent built a village in the middle of nowhere in Hungary. That was so authentic. When they walked into this village, you believed that you were in a real village that was destroyed.
The problem for every village, when I see a village in some movies, it looks fake, no matter what technique and what design. It could be a very beautiful design, but it looks fake because it's inside an emptiness. And so that's why I'm more into designing, connecting to the landscape. I choose something very small in terms of space, but with a lot of trees to be sure that I can dig in and landscape and sculpt all the vegetation. It's not built like a set. I refuse to use the technique of the set construction. We built like a real village with real wood, real thatching, real stone, real mud. We never use anything fake, even if the construction company was pushing me to use polystyrene, resin and everything to be light. I have to be sure that everybody believes even at 20 centimeters, it looks like real, and it's real because you can sleep inside this. There is water, there is well. When you search for props, you can take with your hand and it's real. You can choose anything, it's good.
We manufactured a lot of the props. We had a lot of things that we had bought from India that we used because obviously a lot of their cooking implements are very basic, so we were able to get good pestle and mortars and metal cooking pots, stone cooking pots.
I brought the black soil from another part of Hungary because here the soil is too light, so it was better to have darker soil to connect with always the decision of the color of the mountains. So it took like almost 2 months to design this and 2 months to build it.
Well, it could be as you step into it, maybe. Yeah.
It was quite a tough set because they could really look around 360 at any point. So from our perspective, we had to cover it in every angle that we could. We had to create this sort of atmosphere where it's sort of a burnt-out village. It's almost like evil's just gone through this village and it's dark and sinister. We created like black smoke. We had 4 big burners which are burning diesel in 4 corners, and then smokestacks that spewed out black smoke, which were supposed to be charcoal burners. We had 3 guys running around with these no candles to create the ash. So all that combined gave you this really sort of dark, sinister, you know, like hell almost look.
The bodies, between special effects and myself, Neil Corbould and myself, we've made about 100-odd dummies, various types, various qualities. It's kind of normal. There's always a van full of dummies and things like that for a film like this. Lots of heads, lots of hands, lots of arms and legs. And my kids are used to it. On the kitchen table, we have decapitated heads and things, kind of normal.
To be walking down this hill into one of the more extraordinary sets I've ever seen in my life. Incredibly atmospheric. Extraordinary to walk into an environment like that and not have to worry about the job of acting. All you had to really do was look at it and let that do its work on you. We've walked into a trap.
Shield wall! Form a single square! Protect Lord Codis! Shield wall!
Brett sent me some clips of the North Korean army and saying, I want them to look like this. Well, getting civilians to behave as soldiers is quite tricky because in normal life, people don't all expect to react at the same time. We had a boot camp for 3 weeks where we trained all the extras in different sword drills, shield drills, marching, formations, moving from one formation to the next.
It's hard, you know, because you have to dress all the armies. The days where we have 250, we think, oh, this is a holiday, you know? We are really happy. It has been terribly tough for my team because they start at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then you dress them, and then by the time that they rehearse, they are exhausted, they go for a nap, and then you have to start all over again.
The department that really blew me away was Connor O'Sullivan in creating the look of these Bessie. They did a lot of tests for me, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's it. I mean, it was just amazing.
With the process of the Bessie Warriors, initially we have to spray them green. So they come in, we've got like a sausage machine, the Bessie factory. We've made spray booths, like spray tanning booths. They get sprayed green. They get sponged over to make them mottled and give them texture. Then they go through to tattoo transfers and finishing. And we use a transfer process like you would do on temporary tattoos that your kids use. The tattoos were based around sort of Greek pottery and things like that. I was looking at snake designs and various primitive designs that came from Greek art and things like that. We are generally doing about 150 to 160.
They were interesting. The look they had, this sort of your naked green, kind of with a leather loincloth. And their leader was this 7.5-foot English guy. Ian White used to be a basketball player, but he was the leader of the Bessie, but he's a giant. Didn't have to use green screen for that.
And what are you going to do? You're going to destroy Hercules?
I'm going to do my damnedest.
Awesome.
I think it's going to go well.
Yeah.
Greg Powell, one of the best stunt coordinators in the world, just did a brilliant job of bringing my vision to reality.
The strength of him is not the Superman strength. He's just a big guy, you know, twice as big as me. So if I throw someone 6 foot, he can throw him 12 foot. So I've worked on that sort of principle of how strong he is when he's doing the fights and stuff like that.
The idea was to have a fighting style that still had power because he was still Hercules, whether or not he believed he was the son of Zeus or not. When you get hit by Hercules, well, you go a little further. A little bit more damage is done. But ultimately, his fighting style is brutal.
But don't look that way until the camera... Now look, now turn your head.
I give all the credit to Brett in terms of how he realized and visualized the action. He said from day one, the fighting style had to be something you've never seen before.
Death in their face! Ah! As they're running. kept saying grounded, real, practical, not, you know, guys flying through the air and somersaults, and it wasn't about the stunts. Let's tell the story.
I've never been in an action sequence like that before. I couldn't believe it when they put up the shield wall and all the Bessie people, the crazy Bessies, they just went at it.
When you got 200 blokes painted green, swinging axes and whatnot at you, running at you, you kind of forget that it's all make-believe. Especially like we had stuntmen launching over the shield wall and landing right next to us, and there's earth being fired up from the ground and everything's on fire. It's really easy to get lost in it.
The interesting thing about the Bessie battle was we've trained 250 guys to look really good, and they actually need to look bad in the Bessie battle. In the first battle we see them.
In the story, they're not as trained as they're going to be by Hercules and his team. So that was cool, especially from the military side of things with their formations and things. They could be a little shabby and not so flash.
In the Bessie battle, we want to see their fallibility, and they're literally swarmed by these raging, crazy tribesmen.
It's not stuntman friendly, these costumes at all, because everything that you want to cover up with pads, you can't cover up with pads. You know, all their arms are showing, all their legs are showing. The guys, for what they had on, was really running in there. They was diving over the top. You know, they're quite big shields as well, probably 4 feet, but to get a lot of distance over the top and just breaking in. So it was a lot of skirmish, you know, it was a hit and run sort of thing, you know, running in there and strangling and punching and kicking, and I think the boys done a real good job there.
All right, ready, and background! And action!
It was a massive experience, to be honest, because it was the first time we fought on camera. And suddenly it worked. You could feel that all the workout and all the training that we put into it, it paid out.
I was going to do this scene where I jump and dive roll and up a hill and climbing. And I've always been a very good girl when it comes to doing my homework. So the day before, the evening before, I did this super hard workout routine, a leg routine, which I hadn't done before. And I woke up, the pain in my legs. And I was thinking, Ingrid, you are going now to do how many hours of fighting?
So it's going to be something like bam, and then he goes bam, yeah?
I didn't tell anyone. Nobody knows that I was suffering from aching of monstrous proportions. So note to self, don't work out the day before you're gonna do a big action sequence. I learned that.
Boom! Boom! Let's have him come out and we stop. We cut. Get the chariots! Yeah.
Bring the chariots!
It was the biggest set piece I've ever done in my life. I mean, it was just weeks and weeks and weeks of fighting. I mean, the Bessie were coming in at 1, 2 in the morning to get their makeup done. Then they had to shoot all day in 105-degree weather. It was very difficult for everybody involved.
Where is Risa?
It's just an epic, badass battle. And fortunately, they were able to get out of it alive. Or at least Hercules lives. Thank God, it'll be a quick movie.
The approach to visual effects in this film was basically old school. Let's try to do it all on camera.
Most of the movie's done practically, meaning we could have just gone in a green screen room and had Hercules fighting the boar, but we went to a real location in the woods, and then we just put in the boar.
All the creatures will be digital. Everything else, if we can do it, should be practical. Sets, costumes, the classic horse stunts.
I would push practical effect as much as I can, and obviously there is a limit to what we can do, but I always want to offer it up, and then John Bruno does his magic.
The laborers were shot practically other than the creatures. We realized on the scale of which we were doing these things, those would have to be digital. We had a Nemean lion head on a pole that we would say, you know, look here.
They, I mean, have blown me away. I mean, the Nemean lion that they created blew my mind.
For visual effects, we built a set of teeth, basically a jaw, so that at the end sequence, the famous is Hercules has grabbed the lion's jaw and he's ripping it open. So we just built a jaw so that Dwayne can hold, and you know, it puts all his hands in the right place.
The more complicated set was a 60-foot by 40-foot tank for the Hydra. The creature was rigged in such a way by Neil Corbould. There were 7 heads, full size, and there were 7 cables and lifts that would yank them up out of the water.
And we just whip those out of the water so you get all the splashes and the dripping off of the heads are right, and we just throw these around, and it gives something to look at and to smash and hit.
And then we added digital creatures to that using the pouring water to enhance all that. And then behind the 40-foot section of the tank was a blue screen. The Eumanthian boar was shot in an area close enough that had forest, but the trees there were not big enough, so the art department built a tree for us. It had to be big enough for him to run up.
We did a big section of tree, you know, 3-foot diameter tree, and we did a practical effect of the boar smash the side of it out as Hercules jumps up in the air.
All the action was done by the stunt double who gets yanked up in the tree and comes slams down. That was all in camera.
The only bit that wasn't practical was the boar coming through, which would all be CG.
We had this giant full-size cutout of the boar, so we can pose shots too, and had 7 guys run it through the scene. It was 100 degrees, I remember when we shot that scene. They rolled out this, I think it was 2 inches thick of sort of cotton material that looked like snow, and then they took a snow sprayer and they spray it on the trees and they spray it on the ground, and then they can just sweep it up. You know, it's a really good snow sequence, shot in very hot weather.
Centaurs.
You actually seen them?
They have been seen.
Brett's idea of doing this was that it would be gritty and real and not mythological. And so with the centaurs, how do we debunk this? What we did, we sort of reverse engineered the visual of like a centaur, half man, half horse. And how would somebody in that time, how would they have mistaken a guy on a horse for a centaur?
Centaurs. They're real.
And so I started designing things to show Brett with a man riding very high up on the shoulders of a horse, and they're wearing some sort of dark camouflage, with the idea that at dawn, when the sun's behind you, in silhouette, you look like a centaur. The Rhesus battle, we had some high views of 200 soldiers. We had 200 of our Hercules troops, and we had 190 Rhesus troops and 60 horses, and we had to turn that into 3,000 of one and 1,000 of the other. As far as the weapons, we had practical arrows, but no arrows were actually shot. For safety purposes, there's so many characters and so many people shooting directly point blank at each other that all arrows are basically digital. Ingrid, she was such a sport. Dimensionally, you have to realize what she's doing. There's scenes in the movie where she pulls an arrow out of a quiver, lines it up, puts her fingers around it, and shoots somebody, and then grabs another arrow that's not there. It's funny because they're not shooting arrows, they're miming.
We always try and sneak some impacts in there, like practically, for me they always look better. We have it going down a wire, so we know exactly where it's going to go. And then the other thing is we've got the old-fashioned pop-up arrow. They're still very effective for very quick cuts.
All the props existed, but existed in a bendable form, and we had to make them solid and deadly looking. We had rubber-tipped everything. and a lot of the time we were replacing that with metal, steel-looking blades. Contacts were digital. When somebody stabs somebody or slices somebody, we added all that digital. Even Hercules' club, he had the full-size club, but then when we got into the actual battles and he had to hit somebody, well, we had the short club. So when someone comes into the shot, he can swing it without hesitation, and then we'd have to extend that. Most of the swords and a lot of the spears were extended because they were actually in combat and everybody was nervous.
We were more involved with the impact of the weapons. We made some like wax tip axes up that we could either fill with blood or with some dust or something, so as they impact the person, they shatter and they just give you an impact effect. Like whip pans, you have a guy just throwing an axe, you camera pans with that, and then the second take is that you just do the impact. The guy's running with the axe already in his back, and as you pan onto the guy, you say now, and he falls down, and it works. It's very effective. And even if you go frame by frame, it's very hard to say it's not real. So Hercules has basically been taken down in this dungeon. He's chained up to this huge pillar with 2 chains around his wrists. And then he eventually pulls the chains out of the ground. For that, we were making some breakaway floor sections that break away gradually. So we need things shattering. So that'll be done with compressed air and dust. We have a close-up of the chains, and the chains are flattening out. They're supposed to be metal, but our trickery is they're going to be made out of aluminium, rubber, plastic.
Unleash the wolves!
Hercules fights his way out of captivity, fighting off 3 wolves.
I had 3 guys playing the 3 wolves, and they're being green screens. They can grab a leg and grab an arm, so they get the right reactions on Hercules. And then they've got a couple of real wolves that they can photograph doing stuff, and obviously then they do their trickery.
I know they have 60 people working on the wolves alone, trying to get the skeletal structure and the muscles and the fur textures and lighting. The climax of the movie takes place in the Citadel at Hera's temple. Hera is the nemesis, theoretically, the stepmother of Hercules, who hates him. So the climax, of course, should be at the feet of Hera. Discuss adding more fire pots being pushed over, trying to figure out how to delay this action.
We're filling the dishes full of fuel, we're setting light to it, and then we've got these mechanical rigs, hydraulic rigs that just tip it up. We'll have stunt people behind it, and then it'll be this massive 50-foot wide flame, and that creates enough time for Hercules to get the idea of that he's going to smash the massive statue down.
Jean-Vincent Puzo's loved the idea of, I will build the entire thing, build the full-size statue of Hera, maybe we even push it over. And well, that got the no. We ended up building up to the knees of Hera. And I remember this really fun discussion, Jean-Vincent, he goes, Hercules could never, like what you drew is impossible. He cannot push this statue over with this big block of stone that would be supporting it. And we started talking about small female pillars, a number of them that would be supporting the statue.
By hitting the first 3 out, it destabilizes the whole statue. And then we take over with the hydraulic rig, which then the whole biscuit pushes forward slowly. All the statues start exploding, which is all practical. And then it sends the big statue above tumbling down, and it kills a lot of the soldiers and Cotis. Big finale.
We had green screens that went on. They were hundreds of feet long outside of the top, extending around the whole palace area and the courtyard.
I mean, there is a certain amount of green screen you couldn't possibly not nowadays, but you have to have some CGI. But there is as little as it is possible, and we are doing it as much as for real as possible.
The use of visual effects and the practical special effects on set created a world that was identifiable to everyone, as if someone took a camera back to the year 358 BC. It's beautiful. I mean, it's breathtaking.
It worked out really well. The blends of what's real, what's not real is really fantastic. It was quite a fun experience.
loved it. I loved the experience. I'll never forget it, and I'm proud of the movie. We all became a family. We all had such a great time experiencing it, being in another country. You know, the crew there was so fantastic. Some of the crews already come and visited me here, which is fantastic. Wayne and all the actors in the movie are very proud of what they've done.
First time I saw it, I didn't see it with an audience. I just watched it with a couple of close friends. I try and remain neutral and try and remain balanced when I watch a movie, and I try not to be thrown by the size of my head because I got a pretty big head. But I watched it, and it delivered beyond my expectations.
I think there should be a Hercules film every decade. It's an iconic story that needs to be told, I think, for every generation. And you say Hercules.
We get challenged every day, we get knocked down, but we come back stronger. That's what Hercules is based off of, and in my opinion, that's what life is. We get knocked down and we come back stronger. We're all Hercules in a way. We all become Hercules.
Your legend ends here.
Do I look afraid?
Hercules! 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 Hercules!
Now there is the definitive Hercules for this generation, and that's what I'm the most proud of.
Listen closely. I will tell you of the son of Zeus, and I swear by the gods, every word is true. His mother, Alcmene, was the greatest beauty in all of Greece. Even Zeus himself could not resist her charms. So he came to her in a ray of sunlight and made her his own. Alcmene gave birth to a son, part mortal, part god.
Titius, control your urges. Your men know where to find you, Grizza. If you've been a worthy leader, they'll return for you.
Hercules! Come back! Let me down! My men will never return! Hercules, please! Do not leave me here! Come back!
My companions and I will show you how to stay alive, so that you may return home to your farm someday. Autolycus.
You. Yes? You. Lob off my head. My head! Cut it off! Pathetic.
General?
Shield wall!
Who are you?
Nicol...
If you want to defeat this Rhesus and survive, you must learn to think as one. On the battlefield, a man alone is weak. He's vulnerable. You must learn to work together. Titius.
I've seen how you watch over Hercules.
Tell me, how did a woman, beautiful woman, fall in with these hardened men, killers? Son of Zeus need a woman's protection.
Oh, I don't protect him. I protect you from him.
General, from now on, maybe you should favor the company of your men. You pulled a knife?
It was only a small break.
Hercules! My mother's going with you.
With my field nurses. We leave at dawn. I suspect our services will be required.
Arius. Protect the Citadel until we return.
Rhesus knows we're here. Post sentries along the fields.
Yes, sir. Right away.
Are you hurt?
Only my pride. Not as spry as I used to be.
Cover up before your loyal army sees you bleed like a mortal.
Phineas, you pledged your life.
And I gladly offer it. I failed to see this trap. The fault is mine. Spare the other scouts.
General Sittocles? I think we've lost enough men for today, don't you? But just to avoid future misunderstandings, I'll be taking charge of your scouts from now on. Is that clear?
Thank you.
Another mistake, I'll end you myself.
How could you do such a terrible thing? By law, I should execute you, but I believe a more fitting punishment would be to let you live, so you can walk the earth in torment, haunted by the knowledge that you alone are responsible for the death of your loved ones. The great Hercules, hands forever stained with innocent blood. Get out, you monster! Get out!
Legend grows. Hercules' deeds were so incredible they could not possibly have been performed by a mere mortal. So, we played along. We encourage people to think Hercules was the son of Zeus. It's good. Scares the enemy. Hylaeus helps. He talks nice.
You're very loyal friends. You're avoiding my question.
Hercules is a warrior, and there is something that haunts warriors. It can cloud their minds. We call it the blood rage.
This rage afflicted Hercules.
He made me vow to keep the world away from him, to make sure that he would never harm innocents again.
And that, my lady, is the truth.
The truth. Whatever the truth. The death of his loved ones haunts Hercules. Only the gods can help him. If he listens.
Your legend ends here.
Look at me. Do I look afraid?
Phineas! Traitor! Hades will have you!
After it has you, my lord. It is over, Cotus. Mount Asticus on your front. The woods at your back.
And my troops outman you 3-1.
Surrender now, and we shall consider being merciful.
A short while ago, most of you were farmers, but now you're warriors. The enemy you face outnumbers you. They believe they will destroy you. Will you let them? Or will you fight? The outcome of this battle will determine more than the fate of Thrace. It will define your own destiny. You have it within yourselves to become heroes and write your own legends. Let it be to death or victory!
Fucking centaurs.
So, we learned that centaurs, like all monsters, exist only in myth.
Oh, there is a true monster in Thrace, and he looks through your eyes.
Silence him.
What of the rest, my lord?
Take them back to the Citadel. Let the people see that they're defeated before they face justice. And the traitor, too.
I serve Thrace. Who does Lord Cotus serve other than Lord Cotus? Perhaps Hercules would be interested in your crimes.
Let's see how fast we are. If you can make it to the trees by the time I count to 10, you're free. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Arius!
As king, your subjects will live and die based on decisions you make. Surround yourself with loyal friends, as I have, and lead not with this, but have faith in yourself. Do I have your word as a man?
I promise.
This belongs to you. Wear it with pride.
So where to next? Black Sea?
No. Athens. We're going home.